Hey guys, wanted to do a walk around on the Jeep. Been a lot of questions about how I've done things. I'm pretty new to the Overland community. I've had a handful of Jeeps over the years, a couple of TJs. This is my first JK. But every time I post, about upgrades that I've done to the Jeep, I get a lot of questions about what I've done and people outright asking for a walk around. So I figured I'd do that, particularly about my electrical system. However, once I sort of pull the curtain back on this Jeep, everybody's going to be talking about weight and stuff like that. So let's first talk about suspension and some things I've done to that part of the vehicle to support all these upgrades. So I'll start there and then work my way through the Jeep system by system. Hopefully it helps everybody with their builds. So I started the vehicle supported Jeep travel or Overland travel about a year and a half ago when I bought this Jeep. Started off just throwing stuff in the back and then quickly decided I wanted to build it out and make it more efficient. As that happened, I realized that I was going to need to add some things, to the suspension, beef it up a little bit. I bought this Jeep. It had already had some work done to it by, I would say, probably, pretty smart Jeep person with respect to Overland. He had made some good choices. Jeep already had the front runner roof rack, and it had Old Man Emu 2¼ inch heavy load springs and a couple other things. But other than that, I've done a lot of this work myself. As far as suspension goes, did chromoly axle shafts and some truss of both axles, and upgraded the steering to a 1-ton RPM steering product. Brakes are regular power stop brakes. So also got on top of the heavyweight springs, Old Man Emu springs, we've got Falcon shocks. And the Falcon shocks paired with the Old Man Emu springs really help with the weight of this vehicle. Because we're about 6,500 pounds all kitted out, ready to go for a week-long trip, which we do. We do a lot of week-long trips. It's pretty much what it's built for. 3 people, my wife, myself, and my daughter for, better part of a week. A little shot of the rear. The airbags are at minimum PSI. I don't really use them on the trail, mainly just because we live in the in an RV full time, and when we travel, I load the Jeep up with bikes and stuff on a hitch carrier, and that helps sort of take some of the weight off of those springs when we're traveling. As far as the extra items added to the Jeep, Autohome Maggiolina Grand Tour medium size rooftop tent fits the front runner rack perfectly. Very comfortable with that with 3 people, and just a really fast setup. Very happy with that tent. It holds a ton of gear. I mean, we've got 3 sleeping bags, like a half a dozen pillows, some extra mats up there. Got a little heater, actually just electric heater we use with our electrical system, and everything just stays up there pretty much. On the back here, I added some rigid toolboxes. Got recovery gear in one, my air compressor in the other. Those are relatively light items to put in there, just things that are bulky. I didn't want the air compressor mounted in the normal places inside, because a lot of times my wife and daughter are inside when I'm airing up. It's just too loud, and I don't have room up in the engine because of some brake controllers and my S-Pod for just other stuff that's up there. Added the Alta rack, which has been absolutely phenomenal for hauling our gear, keeping heavier items that I don't necessarily want inside the Jeep, if there was an accident or something. Just things that should be outside, go on the Alta rack. And then just picked up the OVS 270 awning, and it's good. Not 100% sold on it, mainly just because of the weight. It's better part 80 pounds. So as awesome as it is, I might be going back to my Ironman regular awning just because of the weight. But I don't know, it's pretty cool. So AT propane mount works well for us, although on longer trips we have to bring additional propane, just especially in the winter when we're running our little fire propane fire. Coming around to the back, got a El Cheapo fridge, but I gotta say it's worked well. It's from a company called DFG Off-Road. It's a China knockoff. But what DFG does do well is their slide system. They make this. It's not a knockoff. It's really one of the better priced slides, fridge slides with cutting board combos, and been real happy with it. Real strong fridge slide, so highly recommend that. The Jeep's sitting on 35-inch Toyo Open Country all-terrains. They're 17-inch wheel, 12.5-inch wide tire. Also added Terraflex speed bumps for my bump stops. Those really help when we're heavily loaded and on a rough trail trying to make time. Whenever when we bottom out, we're got a nice cushioned landing. Also did Artec drag bar brackets, front and rear weld on, and JKS adjustable track bars. Additionally, upgraded the control arms to the Terraflex Alpine control arms. On the front only, rear wasn't needed to maintain pinion angles. But that pretty much rounds out the suspension. And that suspension combination has done a really good job for us in, I would say a few thousand miles of overland heavy travel. So not a big, not a lot of testing on that for this kind of weight, but so far so good. The trussing may have been overkill, but I figured the way we're running this Jeep, we're asking a lot of it. I figured I would go the extra mile and try to get ahead of a potential breakage or bendage. Okay, onto the electrical system. I had a lot of questions about this. So I guess the foundation of this electrical system is the lithium-ion batteries. These batteries I picked up used. They're called Valence. They're 40 amp hour lithium-ion batteries with BMS or battery management system. You can find them on Alibaba and you can find them on eBay. They're a really good battery, and they're Will Prowse, online sort of solar energy guru, has torn them down and can speaks highly of them. I found them used, picked them up. They're not super cheap anymore, but they're cheaper than the alternative new batteries. You can pick them up with about 500 cycles because these batteries are used in the medical industry, and they still cycle their batteries out on a lead acid maintenance cycle. And lead acids are good for about 500 cycles, and lithium ion are good for 5,000 or 10,000. So there's really no reason for them to change them out, but they're a high quality battery. I picked up 3 of them, wired them in parallel, got 120 amp hours, which is a really good amount of power, considering that 100 amp hours of that is usable because of the lithium ion battery technology, chemistry. So on top of that, just got a standard 12 volt system wired to that. That's pretty straightforward. But outside of that, let's see, I've used the Blue Seas fuse panel to wire in various things. Tried to keep everything neat and tidy, and so I know I can keep track of what wires are going where. I think the most important thing about a battery system on an Overland vehicle is how you're going to charge it. I've got 2 charging modes. One, DC-DC charger. So the DC-DC charger is great for charging a lithium battery with a system that's got an AGM battery. Charging dissimilar chemistry. It's going to allow you to charge these lithium batteries very efficiently. And it's very simple. It's 2 wires into the DC-DC charger, 2 wires out. And 2 wires go to your AGM battery, and 2 wires come back and go to your auxiliary battery, whatever it may be. And then, they're all configurable for different chemistry. So Renogy has these dip switches you set so that you get the proper charge profile for whatever battery you choose to use. Outside of that, basically, I've got mine set up to where whenever I start my engine, it charges, and that's just this wire here, which is called on Renogy the D plus wire, which goes to your ignition system. And then I put a switch in line on that wire just because I want to be able to decide when I'm charging with my DC-DC charger. For example, right now we're in a beautiful location in Sedona, Arizona, lots of sun, and there's no reason to be running my DC-DC charger. You know, it's just wear and tear on it, and it's going to hit my fuel economy a little bit because, you know, I have an alternate means of charging utilizing my solar panel. Solar panel is 175 watt Renogy flexible panel up on my rooftop tent. So that, I mean, I haven't shut this fridge off in months just because of the solar and the good sun quality that we have here. So I'll go around to the other side here and show the MPPT setup and my inverter setup for AC power. All right, no wasted space in a Jeep. So if you come into the passenger seat here, what I've done is just used plywood, and there's probably a better way to do that. There's definitely a better way to do that. Maybe some like nice molly panel that you could have somebody cut on like a CNC machine or something. But I'm doing this, you know, pretty much outside and out of the back of my RV. So I use plywood and just mounted my Renogy inverter to that, and then got my MPPT Victron solar charge controller here. All kinds of information online about how to wire that up. There's been a lot of questions about where I put this stuff and how I fit it in here. That's the main thing I wanted to show, but it's not just, you know, super simple. Actually, this plywood on the back is stuck to the wall with double-sided tape just so that there's no vibration, so that it's absolutely not vibrating up against the hardtop. And then I've got things like shims in here up against the roll cage that I've put screws in and stuff to keep. And that, I mean, a couple thousand miles now, that has not moved at all, and that's a lot of washboard roads in that, so I think that's going to hold up just fine. I want to go over the battery monitor system a little bit. I think it's really important to have a battery monitor system if you're going to be trying to get the maximum power out of your battery without doing damage to your battery. Lithium-ion batteries are, you know, expensive, even if you buy them used like I did, and you don't want to do any damage. So for not that much money, just a couple $100, go ahead and throw yourself a battery monitor system, something that's going to give you state of charge. Right now, this battery, because the sun is bouncing between like 99 and 100%. Fridge kicks on, I run some lights, I charge up my cell phone or something, it comes down to 99%, and then, you know, the MPPT kicks on, starts throwing better part of 100 plus watts at it, and charges it back up. So as the sun goes down, it'll dip down. We'll run the heat tonight, electric heat, little 200 watt heater off of my 1000 watt inverter, and we'll you know, have the fridge run, some lights, stuff like that. We'll get down about 50%, and then tomorrow, between sun and maybe a little bit of DC-DC charging, it'll be totally charged up. But this is the Victron BMV 712, nothing fancy here. Almost every Overland system with a nice electrical system, you know, has something like this. But you know, look into how to wire something like this up, because it's really beneficial. You know, I put my electrical system in myself, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I just asked around, and initially I was going to pay some people to do it, but after some time I realized I could do it a lot cheaper myself. So you know, the 712, for example, it shows state of charge, most important thing. And then right now the fridge is running. I got some lights on, and that's about it. It says it'll run like 24 hours. So that's pretty good. My main battery voltage, my auxiliary battery voltage, the lithium that's in this box. And then I really like this feature. This is wired to my starter battery. So some of my lights and things are still on the starter battery, like my light that's up on my tailgate here. So I monitor this, and I've got this set to send me a text message if it gets below like 12.4 volts. So that's a nice feature. Outside of that, it just shows how many amps I'm pulling from it right now. Watts I'm pulling. Probably pulling more like 100 watts, and I've got about, you know, 45 watts coming in from solar, so it's a net. And then how many amp hours I've used, down 0.6 amp hours, and then back to state of charge. So highly recommend some sort of a battery monitor system. Just go through some motions here, show everybody what I've got set up. Another board back in here with various pockets for putting things in. This I loved. It was just absolute simplicity. In the morning, you know, last thing I want to do is go digging for a cup. Coffee cup. Right there, ready to go. Doesn't rattle, stays in there really good going down the road. Some spices tucked in there. Stove sitting up top here, really easy to grab. Set up. It's all my shut-off switches and fuses for the battery. Put the air compressor in that toolbox up top. It's hardwired in. Just grab this. I can access all the tires from this spot. This is 3 CFM Vi-Air, and fills all my tires from about 12 psi back up to 26 in about 18 minutes. Hardwired in. So pan over here, you can see the very clean installation on solar panel. Really like this Renogy 175 watt flexible solar panel. I adhered it with a product called Eternabond, black Eternabond tape. It's used in the RV industry. This stuff will actually stick to something that's wet. So it's once you get that thing on there, it's not going anywhere. Just did the install today on some Molly panels for the roof from Invictus Off-Road. You know, can't not talk about these. Really, really cool product. Added some noise canceling insulation in there and underneath, and it, you know, I don't know, maybe it makes a difference, maybe it doesn't, but every little decibel helps on a Jeep on a long drive. But had everything tucked in real nice, and just took it off-road, and everything's stable. Highly recommend that product. Another thing that I get a lot of questions about is my backup camera. This is made by a company called Rove. It's got front and back looking cameras, and it is G activated to record for, you know, insurance purposes. Also, you can go in there and take pictures with it, or just record, which I've done some filming with. It works pretty well. But obviously, you know, I'm not looking out the rearview mirror, so this system works really great. And then I've got it mounted, the camera mounted up real high up there, and it, you know, got a good view of the road. So highly recommend a Rove backup camera product. Had it on there for a year, and it has worked really well. Hope you guys enjoyed this walk around of the Jeep. I'm proud of it. I'm happy with it. Put a lot of work into it, and you know, I enjoyed having the request for the walk around, because it showed me that maybe I've done some things right, and maybe this information will help people with their own builds and get out there and utilize this this platform for Overland. You know, it doesn't have a lot of extra space in it, but it'll do things that no other vehicle will do. We all know that, and I think because of that, combined with some creative organizing, there's plenty of space for a family to get out and utilize this platform, you know, for overland travel. And I know we have, and we'll continue for many years. So thanks for the questions. If I missed anything or got any more questions, you know, reach out to me, and I'll tell you how I did stuff and give you that input.